Have you ever received a rejection from someone only to discover that it was the best thing that could have happened to you? Through this Zen story, you'll discover how to use rejection to your advantage with ancient Buddhist wisdom and reverse psychology advice. So, watch the whole video because in the end, thanks to the 5 points we will address, you will understand how to transform the waste we come across every day into opportunities for personal growth. But before continuing, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications and share the video. Thanks to these small gestures, you will help us produce new content every day for your spiritual growth. In a Buddhist monastery located among the Japanese mountains, lived the elderly monk Isai, famous for his extreme wisdom. One day, at the request of many disciples, the master organized a lesson on the topic of rejection and how to react to it. Isai, having arrived in the garden where his students were waiting for him, greeted them with a broad smile and began to speak. How many times have you received a no and been very disappointed and sorry? And how many times, faced with those no, have you tried in every way to understand why or to change things? Isai asked, filling the air with the calmness of his tone of voice. His disciples nodded, reflecting on the times life seemed to get sideways, and the many rejections they had had to endure. Today we will explore the art of transforming rejection into an opportunity for personal and spiritual growth, continued Isai, following the suggestions of the oldest masters. The same suggestions that, over the centuries, have been used to create the reverse psychology techniques with which we are taught to transform no into something positive. The monk underlined how each rejection can be seen as a different direction to take, a detour that guides us towards new paths and possibilities. When someone presents you with rejection, you must not feel neglected, ignored or underestimated, Isai said to encourage his disciples. Instead of letting that rejection get you down, you must learn to use it as a stepping stone towards something better, bigger and more positive for your life. Isai explained that, as counterintuitive as it may seem, rejection can be interpreted as a hidden yes to something bigger, an opportunity for growth that pushes us to move forward. On this journey of transformation we are embarking on, you will learn to master the art of detachment, and to remain calm in the face of rejection, Isai said. Today you will understand the importance of focusing on your own actions and responses, rather than on the behavior of others, and therefore on the no they say to you. The monk, before going into detail about the reasons why rejection must be transformed into something positive, concluded the introductory part of his lesson with 2 pieces of advice. When faced with rejection, he said, avoid making hasty judgments about the person who rejected it, and don't seek revenge as you would first of all harm yourself, triggering negative processes on a karmic level. Furthermore, don't even try to cheat fate by pretending that rejection never arrived. Rather, commit to channeling the energy of rejection into building greater inner strength and personal fulfillment. Always remember that your value does not diminish because someone else is unable to recognize it. Stay true to yourself, and let your actions speak louder than your words, Isai said, urging his students not to react emotionally to refusal. As the disciples became more and more engaged with the master's wisdom, Isai began to address the 5 reasons why rejection should be seen as positive stimuli. The first thing you need to keep in mind, said the monk, is that rejection should be seen as a tool for reorienting your life. Isai shared the experience of an old monk at the monastery, who had originally sought to become an enlightened healer but was rejected by the masters of that discipline. Later, he decided to dedicate himself to deep meditation, thus discovering a spiritual vocation that led him to true inner fulfillment. The disciples understood how the initial refusal helped that elderly monk to understand which path he should take. That reorientation of his life had led him to his true personal fulfillment. Refusal, Isai continued, has another great merit, that of strengthening the inner strength of each of us. I remember a moment in which a strong wind had knocked down some centuries-old trees in the monastery garden. However, the surviving trees grew stronger, their roots anchored firmly into the ground. Similarly, every rejection can be seen as a storm that forges the inner resistance of each of us. The disciples, reflecting on this metaphor, understood that rejection could strengthen their inner roots, making them more resilient in adversity. Another positive aspect of rejection, Isai added, is related to learning and growth. To make people understand what he wanted to say, the monk used the metaphor of the garden. Every flower needs water and sun to grow, but also good soil, he said. Waste, like difficult soil, can be cultivated to become fertile. The disciples understood that each experience of rejection contained valuable nutrients for their growth. Therefore, fertile ground for developing new skills and understandings. The fourth point addressed by Isai was related to authenticity and self-esteem. I remember an artist who, despite the many external criticisms and the many rejections he received, had maintained his authenticity, he said. This young man had continued to practice his art, eventually attracting the admiration of many, and becoming an artist appreciated and sought after throughout the world. Isai pointed out that rejection can push you to seek approval elsewhere, but staying true to yourself is the true foundation of self-esteem. The disciples were inspired to maintain their authenticity, regardless of the opinions of others, so as to persevere and fulfill themselves despite adversity. Finally, the old master spoke about inner peace. A monk I have known for many years, when he was a novice, received a rejection from the monastery masters, who did not consider him worthy. He, however, maintained an imperturbable calm and, through the constant practice of emotional detachment, achieved a profound inner peace that helped him realize himself and become a good monk. The disciples, thanks to this story, learned that accepting rejection without resentment could lead to an inner serenity that would guide them through the storms of life. And they understood that waste can actually hide real blessings, course adjustments capable of improving one's existence. In conclusion, what is the moral of this story? That rejection can become a great opportunity for spiritual and personal growth for several reasons. First, dealing with rejection requires great emotional and mental resilience, which can lead to greater awareness of oneself and one's abilities. Secondly, rejection offers the opportunity to reflect on one's actions and decisions, prompting a critical evaluation of one's behavior. This self-reflection can be a fundamental step for personal improvement, a step capable of opening our eyes to what is wrong, helping us find our true path. Furthermore, rejection can serve as a catalyst for developing new perspectives and strategies. When faced with rejection, we are pushed to look for alternatives, to think outside the box and to experiment with new approaches. This process of learning, adapting and innovating can lead to significant growth in both spiritual and human terms. Finally, the experience of rejection can increase tolerance for uncertainty and teach you to manage disappointments, which are part of life and are inevitable. Remember that learning to face difficult life situations with resilience can lead to greater spiritual maturity, allowing you to face future difficulties with a more open and positive mindset. In summary, rejection can be an opportunity for unprecedented spiritual and personal growth, as it stimulates resilience, promotes self-reflection, fosters innovation, and contributes to the development of a more mature and tolerant mindset.